What's good, y'all? What's good? Welcome back to the Passive Income Network. My name is C. Will, and on today's stream, we're about to be going in. We got some good stuff that's been happening lately, and as y'all know, it is doing wonders for the Algorand's attention, right? For the attention economy that we're in, and it is also helping to pump some liquidity into the ecosystem. So on today's live stream, we'll be talking about the SEC and Google naming Algorand, and I'm also going to throw in Ripple there for the XRP army, and discuss how will this affect them in the next bull market if we get one sooner than later. But we're going to focus first on Algorand. Why? Because Algorand has me the most excited right now, and a lot of y'all that are watching this stream is like, wow, what's been happening? So the SEC and Google. So as y'all join the stream, say what's good, put an algo in the chat, put an ALGO in the chat as we start to talk about Algorand. So we're going to start off obviously with where all the attention really started, which was the SEC. So the SEC clarifies the crypto laws, the crypto assets. That's where this all started at. So they released a press release. They made a post on Twitter, aka X. Okay. And then everyone started digging through the documents, and then they ran into this here. Let me zoom in a little bit more for y'all. They ran into this here, and this is in the digital commodities section, right? This document breaks it all down. A digital commodity is a crypto asset that is intrinsically linked to and derived its value from the programmatic operation of a crypto system that is functional. Then it breaks it all down. And then as you were looking throughout the Twitter, you had all of the different blockchains that got listed on this list post about it. All the foundations, all the blockchains, all their supporters, all their fans, all their partners. And then so the examples of the digital assets, and today obviously I chose two. We talking about Algorand because I think Algorand has been the most impactful from what's been going on, and then XRP. So it says examples of digital commodities include Aptos, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Chainlink, Dogecoin, Ether, Hedera, Polkadot, Shiba Inu, Solana, Stellar Lumens, Tezos, and XRP. And then there was a footnote here. Okay, the footnote here on number 51, footnote 51, that's this footnote here. It brings up Algorand. Okay. And then the Algorand Foundation's chief legal officer made a comment about it as well and was saying like, hey, the rest of these cryptos are linked to futures. So that kind of clarifies some things there, that futures trading linked, right? Some of y'all do perpetuals trading. Some of y'all do that. It's linked all together. But Algorand has a special footnote here because it doesn't have futures linked to it, but it's still a commodity, right? And that was very important. So that's what got people obviously hyped about. Is like, oh, okay, let's get the understanding right. Algorand not having futures, but it's still here in the SEC. So again, this press release started the good news cycle, especially for Algorand. So put ALGO in the chat, put Algo in the chat, say what's good as you join the chat. So then the next thing we got, okay, hold on one second. Okay. So that's good there. So then the next thing we get into here, again, as I showed you, got the full document. If y'all want to look at the full document, it also covers stable coins. It covers NFTs or digital collectibles. It goes into tools like memberships and all of that type of stuff. All the good stuff is in there. And then the big story, obviously, is this right here. Let me go to this version of it. I'll go right here. Okay, but here's the big story. This is the big story that really changed the game in this last few days. And we're going to go look at CoinMarketCap in a second. So Algorand Foundation makes this post. Google Quantum AI just published a landmark paper on quantum threats to every major blockchain. Beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum, no blockchain receives more coverage than Algorand, cited for live post-quantum deployments across signatures, state proofs, key rotation, and smart contracts. And this is the key right here. It's a deployment across signatures. That's how you sign things. State proofs, communication, all that, key rotation, all of that, but smart contracts as well. And I think the smart contracts part is very important because that's what we're all using in DeFi, right? That's what we're using when we're using these applications, when we're sending for governance votes. All of this type of stuff is all via smart contracts. So this was huge, right? So Google definitely name dropped Algorand through alley-oop. Algorand slam dunks, okay? And then so you got Google right here. This is one of the paragraphs that is in the document. And then Algorand, obviously, like I said, was like, let me post this, put this out there for y'all, okay? And I'll go through the document a little bit as well. But yeah, that's what it is. And then obviously, you know, when it comes down to the SEC, I didn't show you this one. This is a whole nother reason, obviously, why. Whole nother reason why Algorand is popping in terms of the SEC. Let me find my post again. I thought I had it up for y'all. So that's two different reasons. SEC, Algorand's a commodity, and then you got Google talking about its technology in very detailed way, in a way that also compares everything that's going on. So these two ways right here, and as I pull this up, right, so you get these two ways here. SEC confirms, go algo, got me hyped. Feel like it's 2021 again right now. So you got SEC, and then we have Google here. And then let's go to my post here. And I put this post up, obviously, where we talked about the two bangers back to back. Let me fix this real quick. Share this screen. Got too hyped. So then we talk about this here. Two bangers back to back. Two bangers back to back. And these two bangers back to back did something very interesting, right? If we go to CoinMarketCap, we go check out CoinMarketCap. We're going to go to the 7 day. You got Algorand in number 2 right now, up 51%. And if you go look at it on the trading view chart, I'll let y'all pull that up on your own time. That thing was popping. Definitely popping. I don't know what Edge is, but respect to Edge too. But anyways, off of some real legit news, again, as I showed you, the two bangers, this is an obvious correlation to what's happening of what we see on TradingView. So Algorand over this past month is looking really good. Excuse me, this past week is looking really good. That's the type of news we want to see, to get some recognition for what's been actually happening in this blockchain and this ecosystem in general. So this is some real good stuff. So now let's talk a little bit more about the Google stuff. Now that we got past the SEC, we got past the hype right there. So we got this post here. Google's paper got people talking. This is some follow-up posts. Other chains are just now experimenting with Falcon signatures for post-quantum security. Algorand has been running Falcon in production since 2022. So this is during the bear market. Algorand was still shipping the whole time. And and the cryptographer who co-invented the framework Falcon is built on He's right here. Former head of cryptography at Algorand Technologies, global leader in quantum security. So he's the chief scientific officer. So he's one of the people behind the science that people are hyped about right now, that Google even spoke about. And then what else I like, what's been happening in the ecosystem, this is one I think very important, is that, remember Algorand Technologies, which is Algorand, this Twitter I got pulled up right here. They did a merger with Algorand Foundation. So now Algorand Foundation is basically leading the technology side and the ecosystem side. So now it's under one house, and Algorand immediately is posting now. And this is the Algorand account that we've all seen from years ago. It has a massive following, over 350,000 followers, a lot of reach in the ecosystem. And now it's back posting. And when it does post, it's talking about Google, which is huge. It says Google Quantum's AI new paper surveys quantum vulnerabilities across the entire cryptocurrency landscape. Then it goes into what's actually happening, and we discussed that already a little bit. So then when you go to the post, this is what people, you really want to kind of go into some of the deepness of it. Again, make sure y'all go to the quantumai.google, and then you got the whole cryptocurrency white paper. White papers was popping during 2020. I got in late 2020, but really 2021. And white papers was popping. And it looked like Google's trying to bring them back. So when you look at the post-quantum blockchains, you go into this right here, and it goes on even further than this. Algorand provides an example of real-world deployment in the post-quantum consensus on the otherwise quantum vulnerable blockchains. It would be otherwise, but it's not. So then it talks about the different languages. It goes through how Algorand has already completed quantum transactions, right? And then it's talking about how it deployed it, and it goes through deeper, and there's much more throughout this whole document here. Google says, in my opinion, they say, I like Algorand. So it being a commodity, that's good for various different business reasons and legality and regulatory reasons. But then you now have Google, a big tech company, and Google. Let's go to. I like to look at this site. You go to Google, which is essentially the third largest company in the world. Yeah, we'll say the third largest company in the world, Google, big tech giant, is name dropping Algorand, name dropping in a way that we all like. $3.5 trillion company. So that's a good company to be keeping an eye on. You remember, Google is building the Willow computer, the Willow quantum computer. And then as we obviously look into this, let's go to this post here. It just keeps getting better over time. So this post here, I'll say ever since Mark came to the Algorand Foundation, a lot more Google stuff been happening. But Mark, I'm not even going to say his last name, Mark, the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Algorand Foundation, he made this post a while ago. Shopping is changing before our eyes. Make sure I'm sharing. All right, we're good to go. Shopping is changing before our eyes. One cannot overestimate the impact AI agents will have on global commerce. Not only will they fundamentally disrupt existing commerce, they will also give birth to new business models and new opportunities that were not imaginable before. Think about agentic micropayments instantly settled at minimum cost on blockchain networks, or agentic negotiations where users and merchants, agents negotiate price versus data sharing. That at Algorand, we're contributing to the agentic future through our partnership with Google on AP2 and Coinbase on X402. We are enabling developers and builders to easily create agentic payment flows on Algorand and deliver on the potential of agentic commerce. That's a banger. That's definitely a banger. And then you got, the whole breakdown here. This released February 12th, 2026, X402, Unlocking the Agentic Commerce Era. Breaks it all down. What is X402? It's the Emerging Payment Standard, HTTP 402, autonomous payments over the web. So this deals with AI fusing with blockchain. Okay. So it goes in deeper there, and then why agentic commerce changes everything. And I'm gonna play a clip of why it can, why to answer that question or that statement. Then it modernizes commerce. That's obviously true. And then you go into micropayments, how it works. But how it works here is, number one, a client or AI agent requests a resource. The server responds, payment requires status, and then the client submits payment according to the payment requirements definition. The server verifies, settles, and returns to the source. So essentially, this is how the flow would go: merchant, resource, facilitator, and then you have, and this gets real technical, obviously. But for Algorand, we pulled up numbers for 1 million transactions. It was like $85 or something like that, $800. It was like minimum amount of money. So if a company or someone's building and you want to do millions of microtransactions, it is not a problem. So some key use cases enabled by X402. You have micropayments, what I just talked about. These are fractional cent pricing. If you want to send 2 cents or something, 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents on some data or whatever. Machine to machine payments. These are software agents essentially paying each other. Agentic payments, pay as you go access, subscriptions, pay per API call, right? If anyone's using AI right now, you're making small API calls, small payments on data that you're pulling as well, right? So that's how that goes. But then when you go look at it right here, we have this post here. This is from the Google Cloud, the digital assets person at Google Cloud. This was at the Digital Asset Summit last year in London. And let's play this here. So this was at one of the London conference. Let's play it.
That's where we're.
Oh, hold on. Play that for y'all.
I think that's where we're going to see it end. And I think actually some of the most interesting value unlock we'll observe will be in the B2B space. But of course, it's very obvious to us sat here today, even if you're not deep into AI or of course crypto, that you might want to pay for your Nike shoes. I saw a great demo from the Algorand team recently where you would be able to instruct your agent to go and do that for you. And that's something that you would probably do anyway. And it could be a holiday and it could be something else. And you can understand how you want to provide some guardrails for your agent there through digital payment credentials and verifiable credentials to make sure that you're signing for something that you actually intend to. And that's, a consumer concern.
So that here essentially is Google. Again, this was last year at the Blockworks conference. Google's been had his eye on Algorand. That's the whole point of me playing that clip. And then since having his eye on Algorand, it's like, okay, this person and their team is like, this is the type of blockchain where we can actually implement these strategies. You tell your AI agent, I want those original Jordan 1s, go find those. It finds them, it negotiates the price or whatever, or it just pays the price, get it shipped, and all you do is send a message basically on your phone or your device, and then it does it for you. And again, if you're using the Ethereum or if you're using, some blockchain that can't handle that type of load, some blockchain that is not quantum proof for the future, that's when a lot of this stuff is going to be happening in a scaled, you need an Algorand, essentially. It's many reasons, but this is another reason. So this is real good. And then the final thing I got for y'all about Algorand is I want to play this clip right here. Stacey Warden is on Bloomberg, and she's talking about tokenization, the SEC clarity, algo as a commodity and whatnot. So I figured this was a good way to wrap this Algorand segment up. Let me me go to this here. Let's get to it.
And Stacey Warden, she is CEO of Algorand Foundation. We should note as well that she was previously at the Milken Institute, where she led work on capital market development, as well as crypto and blockchain solutions. Stacey, welcome to Bloomberg Crypto. Can you just explain what Algorand Foundation does and what kind of role it plays, or what kind of advocacy it does when it comes to tokenization?
So Algorand is a layer 1 blockchain. We are one of the OG blockchains, and we're very focused on financial empowerment. And we have a couple of things about the technology that makes us a good blockchain for that. We have something called instant finality, which means that as soon as you hit return on your keyboard, your transaction is final and cannot be reversed. We have very high throughput. We're a very lightweight protocol. So all of these kinds of chain mechanics make us very good for tokenization and for financial services more generally, also including payments. And the role of the foundation is to make Planet Algorand the best place to do business. So we make sure that the ecosystem is vibrant. We support the very many protocols building on Algorand. We engage in partnerships around tokenization and the like.
You know, I hear you speaking and I think of Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, Polygon, Stellar. How are you different than these others?
So technically, we're a bit different. So technically, we are quite decentralized and we are quite permissionless. And so one thing practically that means is that you can participate in the security of the Algorand network with a consumer-grade laptop. You don't need enterprise-grade hardware to secure the network, which is true of more Bitcoin and Solana and Ethereum. Secondly, we have what's called a pure proof-of-stake protocol, which means that you can't be slashed if you make a mistake. You can contribute and withdraw tokens whenever you want to secure the network. So you don't have to have a minimum level. You can participate with one algo. You're not going to earn rewards very often if you do that. And so the idea is that it's really a sort of a decentralized network of the people, if you will. Anybody can secure the network. So that's the most important thing, I will say. Secondly, that speaks to permissionless and decentralization. Secondly, we're the only platform that gives you an instant finality. And this is going to be very important in finance. Imagine if you have a stable coin, even for a millisecond, where there's the same stable coin can be redeemed in 2 states of the world at the same time. So you can't have that happen. And we have pretty high throughput as well. These are our USPs, as they're known.
Stacey, you are now classified as a digital commodity by the SEC. What does that mean for your business? What does it allow you to do that perhaps you couldn't before?
Yeah, we're doing the happy dance about that, of course, as you can imagine. And, I can go into a little bit more technical detail about why that is and why we were classified that way. But for us, it comes down to a couple of really important things. First of all, our institutional partners, as I said, we're very focused on the financial vertical. Our institutional partners have always demanded a lot from us in terms of the instant finality and the throughput. But there's always this question on the table, right? Is the algo security? And this guidance takes that question off the table. And so this, because financial institutions don't want to be engaged in unregistered securities activities unknowingly, right? And nobody likes regulatory lack of clarity, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing that is good for us is that, and this interestingly falls out of the first thing. So this second benefit only applies to those 10 odd tokens that were declared digital commodities by the SEC and the CFTC together the other day. This, if you are a digital commodity, then staking is viewed as an administrative act, not as an investment contract. So that also gives a lot of comfort to exchanges that want to list the algo and engage in activities with the algo, because they also don't want to be unwittingly engaged in activities around unregistered securities. So it's just bedrock regulatory clarity that is so important to us. Of course, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We only have about a minute left, Stacey. So I want to jump in. This regulatory clarity that you've been who now are your institutional partners? Who are your customers? Who are you working with now as a result of this classification change by the SEC?
Well, it was only a couple of days, a couple of weeks ago. So I wouldn't say that we've, now onboarded a partner that we didn't have before. Yeah. It's really been very much business as usual at the blockchain and at the foundation.
Great answer.
But it does give a lot of a lot of comfort to us going forward, and comfort to also to the protocols that are building on Algorand, right? We are, and we have had so much activity on this chain. We're known as an OG chain for so long that I don't think in a way we were ever, and our partners were ever particularly worried about it. We did our first token emission outside of the United States. We've been very careful to avoid the US regulatory parameter, but now, we have just moved to the United States. We have turned the foundation from a nonprofit to a for-profit foundation. We have a new board. So it's like a kind of a new day for us. And this was the last piece of the foundation for us for, total world domination, and to do our part to make the US the capital of digital tokens in the world.
All right.
Okay, I have to say she cooked. Someone cooked here. She cooked. So I think I had to play that whole video to y'all because I like what she was, saying, like how she explained it all on Bloomberg, which is a big financial channel. But again, Algorand moving to the United States, a foundation, right? You had that merger between Algorand and Algorand Technologies. Then you got a for-profit foundation now, so they can do more like business activities. So we should see business development scale up massively. You have the partnership with Google for the X402 Coinbase Google Agentics protocol, right? You got the digital commodities, as she explained, that you can go over exchanges and different companies who are dealing with staking. Like I'm running a node right now, I'm staking essentially. They won't have no problems there. Regulatory clarity, business as usual. And then obviously, again, I showed y'all CoinMarketCap is showing you too in the last week because of all this, as the market is like flat or going down, Algorand pumped like crazy. So that's what I got for y'all for the Algorand update. SEC and Google naming them. I think this is a good thing for 2026 as we go into Q2. We just entered Q2 being in April, and this is a good thing. So Algorand's cooking, new board, new vision, same old workhorse, just upgraded, right? So this is huge. All right, so as I continue to stream, just want to give you a few updates on XRP, talk about some of the thoughts there. Because I always think XRP is an interesting crypto as well. So that's why we're going to talk about it. So for the XRP army, as y'all put algo in the chat, start putting XRP in the chat. Put XRP in the chat. So this one, again, I want to start here, kind of the same way we started. So SEC, okay, the SEC puts Algorand, as we saw, or excuse me, XRP also as the list of examples of different tokens, right? And we already know XRP has got regulatory clarity via all its court cases fighting Gary Gensler and the Supreme Court ruling. So you got XRP on there, right? That's bullish, okay? And then if you go to, and why I brought up Google as well, this is important. So you go to the Google, same document as I talked about with Algorand, you got XRP on here. There are also experimental and test deployments of the quantum vulnerable blockchains. For example, they talk about Solana deployed an experiment feature called Solana Winternets. And then it goes down to, and more recently, right? This is the one I wanted to show you. More recently, XRP Ledger deployed post-quantum MLDSA signatures on its AlphaNet test instance. So people are testing. XRP is also testing along with Solana. The blockchain provides extensive support for RWAs, compliance controls, permissions, and it goes on and on. So you got the SEC saying, hey, XRP is clear as well, right? Google put it in there, not as many mentions as Algorand or Solana, but Google is in, it was like, hey, XRP has been testing, right? So we got 2 more testing blockchains, all right? And then, so when you go deeper into Google or XRP, which is the part I think is interesting that makes it like a different type of ecosystem, you have this here. You have this whole payments landscape, stablecoin landscape. So if you go to the stablecoin part, you have Ripple USD, that's RLUSD. Ripple has produced a stablecoin, okay? They've been doing great business development. They have their on and off ramps. They have their virtual accounts and wallets. Then you have payment processing, payment orchestrations, custody, right? Because a lot of times people go with Coinbase, Fireblocks, BitGo. And you have a payment network. We all know about Circle, but now you got Ripple. I've never used RLUSD, but I've been watching. I just like the way USDC looks, and I'm used to it. Tether, I barely use Tether. Wallets as a service, Ripple, and then you got the blockchain, XRP. So it's a full built-out ecosystem as well when it comes to, let me turn this light, it got bright. When it comes down to what Ripple is doing, and I thought that's interesting. Put XRP in the chat. So there is some interesting stuff going on. I'm gonna play this clip here from Brad Garlinghouse. I was watching this the other day, him on Fox Business. So let's watch this.
We've been on a tear. Our business has been growing very quickly. We do care deeply about the health of the crypto markets overall, but to some degree, our technology, it's just a piece of our technology. And so we made 2 big acquisitions last year, both for over $1 billion, and both of those have really overperformed our expectations. A company we bought, we now call Ripple Treasury, which is a treasury management platform. Think of it as a dashboard for CFOs, the ability to manage liquidity around the world. That is way ahead of our forecasts for both the end of last year, but also even Q1. We're going to have a record quarter. And then we bought a prime brokerage business, the largest non-bank prime brokerage business. It was called Hidden Road, now called Ripple Prime. They also have tripled their revenue run rate since we announced that acquisition. So super happy with both of those. But all of that is in service of how do we make XRP as a digital asset more useful, more trusted, with higher utility. That is our North Star of how we think about the world.
Is that interesting, right? So I have to give it to, like I said, big business development on the Ripple side, right? G Treasury, they acquired, they have all these different banking licenses all around the world. And essentially, I've been seeing in the internet, right? People are questioning like, damn, how's this all benefit XRP if Ripple can essentially do this themselves, right? If Ripple can do business and even put RLUSD on Ethereum or on Solana, because it's a stable coin, okay? A liquidity, it's a stable coin. So this is interesting. And obviously Brad's like, hey, we're not about to leave XRP hanging because they used a ledger. So, when you're looking at it, like record quarter acquisitions, I've been watching and I am impressed. It's a totally different ball game. They're even testing quantum. Totally different ball game for a lot of these cryptos out there. And this is why I actually had to pair XRP with Algo, Ripple with Algorand, because I think these two, I like to talk about Stellar and Hedera. I think those 4 in particular, but these 2 right now have definitely taken the lead in terms of a technical business standpoint. Very, very interesting. So I got 2 more for y'all, and then we about to get out of here. So Ripple says, we secured our preliminary electronic money institution license approval from Luxembourg's Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier, right? Luxembourg is big on money. They out there in Europe. So the momentum is global. It says 75 plus licenses and registrations worldwide. 958 billion in volume processed to date, reaching 90% of daily forward next markets. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. That's crazy. And then, so here's one of the businesses Brad Garlinghouse was talking about. And y'all, let me know if you want a deeper dive. Type XRP in the chat if you want a deeper dive or stream on Ripple. So we got Ripple Treasury. This was powered by G Treasury. This is the company it's talking about. This is a highlight of what they're doing here. It's a treasury management software and company for institutions, small businesses, and whatnot that is dealing in money, finances, asset, treasury. So you got the world's most adaptable treasury platform, 100% cash visibility, 13,000 connected banks, 12.5 trillion payments volume. And you have all the trusted by industry leaders. They even got Goodyear on here. Okay, American Airlines. And what's interesting about this, like Volvo and stuff, Subway, global. You got American companies, you got European, you got South American, you got Asian, you got everywhere. Now imagine Arab countries, African countries, all up on here. So it deals with liquidity management, reconciliation, cash forecasting, payments, netting, risk, regulatory reporting, banks, wallet custody. So what they're fusing is Ripple's fusing their whole crypto industry. They're fusing everything they're doing in cryptocurrency with traditional finance. They have became a bridge in a sense. So again, as y'all see, cryptos right now are figuring out the best way to be in between traditional finance and like DeFi essentially. So you can go one route, you can go the other route. You can go the humanitarian route, you can go the payments, AI agents. There's so much happening, y'all. So type Algo in the chat, type XRP in the chat, y'all. I have to get out of here. I'll be back with another one. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Passive income. Gold in my dental. Thank God for my mental. Investor fundamentals. Told my girl it was simple.